Hello. How's it going? Okay, so I'm attempting to stream this. So I've actually just made our stream stuff go live.
Cool.
So theoretically, it's on the interwebs.
Oh no!
Oh no!
To be fair, I figure if anyone finds it, everybody I know already knows that I'm nerdy as fuck. So.
Yes, and besides which, I haven't actually told anyone that I was going to be streaming this at all. This is sort of just a test. A technical test to make sure it's working just fine. Also, because if we want to start streaming, I kind of wanted to start streaming at the beginning of the story. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because we might as well. We can. So, for our non-existent listeners, we're going to be playing a Dresden Files adventure in the Dresden Files world using the Fate Core system. And this is our second gathering for this particular system, and it is part 2 of city and character creation, because in Fate Dresden, the city creation is a process. It can create a lot of really good hooks, though. It's essentially built in session 0, except that the session 0 can sometimes take 2 times. We're just waiting for Renee to actually pop in to voice eventually. But everyone else is Adrian.
Hello.
And Zoe.
Hi.
And I'm Emily. And yeah, we're gonna have some fun. So we have mostly made Vancouver, because that's the city we're gonna be playing in. And
Vancouver.
And 2 of us live in Vancouver, and 2 have visited. I know Adrian wants to live in Vancouver.
And me.
And Zoe does too.
If only you had reasonably priced real estate and or jobs.
Nope. I mean, it's okay on jobs, just not necessarily, well, you know, decent paying ones or in the field of anyone's field.
Yeah, it's true.
But so far, what we have for Vancouver is we have come up with our 3 primary themes or threats. Our first theme was, the idea behind it is that there's stark contrasts and boundaries with entrenched factions, and the aspect for that is when you cross a line, you'll know it. Our second one is a threat, in that Vancouver is a port city, and there's trade in everything from relics to objects of power and basically everything else. And then the aspect we chose for that one is you wouldn't download a relic.
Let's be real, all of us would.
I think that's kind of the point of that aspect. And then the third one is another theme. With the winter and summer court and constant struggle, summer dominates the lowlands and city, and the winter the mountains. And the aspect we chose for that one was when fronts collide, it doesn't just rain, it pours. So right now, our supernatural status quo is the various entrenched factions guard their domains and circle each other in an uneasy Cold War. And the mundane status quo, we put quiet desperation, conspicuous consumption, and corruption bumping elbows in a green city. So what remains to do for the city side of the creation is we need to put faces to those 3 themes and threats. And we need to finish up some of our locations. Because we've got 2 locations that we pinned down pretty much thoroughly, the Steam Clock and Gross Mountain. But we have some that are partially done. Stanley Park and Granville Island And then we just jotted down 3 others that have literally nothing else to them yet, which is UBC, Chinatown, and Yaletown. And then we also have to do our actual character creation part of the character creation. So, I know Adrian's been thinking about it, and I know Renee's been thinking about it. Renee's got a pretty decent start on his. Renee, what was your character? What was the name that you gave him at first? I entirely managed to forget it.
Wait, what?
What was the first iteration of his name? The pun.
She wants to make me suffer.
You mean Justin Thyme?
Yes.
Oh God.
It's time with a TH.
Yep.
No.
Yep. It was so good.
No.
I have to write that down so that it's in my list of pun names.
Nope.
Oh, I love it.
To be fair, there's a lot you can do with Justin as a first name.
Yep.
Yes. Actually, one of the people I played D&D with, Christy, for her job, she basically like sorts through a ton of people's names, and she found a good one, a good pun name in somebody's real name.
Dear God.
Connie Drum. She's like, all you need to do is have initial N.
Oh, yeah.
Connie N. Drum.
Conundrum? No.
So that got added to my list this week too. I liked that one because it was a little more subtle, right?
Mm.
I like the uncertain. Sure.
You know how I feel about puns.
Anyway, Renee did not go with that name, so I think you guys have all
Thank
chosen
God.
actual names. Assuming Zoe likes hers.
I was like, I looked at the last name and was like, really? Haroldina.
So right.
Let me change that.
So just a minute. Right now, what Zoe's character's name is Haroldina Finanakinter, which is interesting to say the least. I mean, I don't mind it.
By an inhuman person.
I don't mind it, especially if you're going with the inherited, like, curio shop background. Like,
it's just Harold for short, okay?
Yeah, lose the last syllable. It's so hard to say.
Okay, so, we can either start with completing our city, or we can start with the characters. Any of you 3 have a preference?
Not really.
Yeah.
Let's start with characters. It might give
like
us
your map.
some... Oh, thank you. I was pretty proud of it. Yeah. Why use existing maps when you can spend a ridiculous amount of time making your own, right? Right?
It's true. It's true.
So yeah, why don't we do characters? It might give us some ideas, city-wise, to flesh out the, particularly what we need is, people to populate our city. So that we might have some ideas coming out of character creation that way. Who wants to go first? I think right now, Adrian has the most complete character, and Zoe has the least complete character.
Definitely.
I went first last time, so I'm happy to have someone else do it.
Okay, so maybe let's start with concepting for you, Zoe, a little bit more firmly, and then maybe while we work on some details for the other 2, you can think about details. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are you thinking? this week for Heraldina Fennan
Banana.
Banana Kinter. Banana Kinter.
Banana Hinter.
I'll have to practice that one if you keep that last name.
I am not. That was a placeholder. No,
You
Cheryl.
should keep it now.
Cheryl will be my middle name.
I like it.
Let's see. I'm gonna stick with Emissary of Power.
Okay, excellent.
I wasn't super because I've started reading the books, but I haven't read,
Yeah.
most of them. So,
Start at book like 3 or 4, by the way. The first 2 are kind of rough.
I mean,
really?
you can start with the first. It doesn't
Oh,
matter.
they're
Just start with.
not.
That's fine.
He hasn't. Yeah, no, they're not. As
Zoe, do you like audiobooks?
I'm not a good listener.
Okay.
I
Fair.
mean, I have to be like only doing that. I'm not good at listening and like doing stuff.
Okay, fair.
I just have it on my Kindle, so.
Okay, just because I have all of the audiobooks if you wanted.
Ooh. Well, maybe
So,
for at work. I
Yeah,
don't know.
just let me know, because... Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
Emissary
So,
of Power.
And then I was thinking, well, I have to choose a patron, so I just like looked up in the Dresden Files wiki, like,
What are
who
some
are
of the...
people. So I thought, oh, maybe Hades, because if I own like a shop or like run a shop and like
Nice.
he's kind of like into like art and finery and la 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 la, and maybe that's like part of the cover of the shop kind of thing.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
that would be fun.
So, traditional Hades?
Yes.
Like Hercules
Like-
Hades?
Is there a different one?
Book Hades is kind of like a chill bro.
He kinda is, right?
He really is.
Chill bro, like an actual like bro, like
No, not
No.
really. No. He's not bro-like. No.
A chill dude.
Yes.
perhaps.
It's a better way to put it.
Yeah, because then his name wouldn't be Brady's.
No.
So, yeah. Okay. Then, let's go with that. And, yeah, I like that. I like that idea. And I may mix in aspects of both. Okay, perfect. So, Emissary of Power, Hades, and you are going to also have... so are you going you wanted to go the curio shop, right? Still?
yeah.
Okay. So then, for your high concept, we need to come up with something that ties in Hades and probably that shop.
Librarian in hell.
Not really librarian in hell.
Librarian of hell.
That would be more.
Hell's bookkeeper.
Oh, I like that. That sounds like a joke, though.
But is it bookshop or is it a curiosity shop?
A little like.
Little bit of
everything.
both?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell lost and found.
I like that. Curator of hellish items.
Hades.
Or the
contact.
underworld, because it depends on whether you want to mention hell or do mention Hades or mention the underworld. Apparently Hades' name is generally thought to mean the unseen one. Apparently.
Sticks and tricks. Like the river Styx? No? Like an oddity shop? No?
Sticks and stones. Get some like occult gems in there.
Well, that could be the name of the shop. Yeah, if you want.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Something like that. High concept then, maybe. Yeah, do you have any ideas for how to put it?
Kind of blanking.
Um,
I don't know.
and did you want this to be an inherited thing?
Yeah.
Okay, so that may help. Let's something along the lines of maybe what would I wanna what? How much family do you think you have currently living?
Oh, they're all dead.
Okay.
Naturally.
Yay, no.
Last
There you go.
last keeper of Hades last keeper of underworld something, or
You could do like a speaker for the dead thing.
Oh.
Hey, back off. That's my territory.
Oh.
It is a little bit, yes, for what his character is going to be.
Okay.
He was thinking about doing a.
Hey, well, we'll get.
Okay. I won't spoil it. I mean, you guys are going to be tied together pretty closely, if you want to say what you were thinking of doing. Well, we're trying to come up with something.
Well, I mean, Hades was like, "Oh, cat, just stop."
What's the cat doing?
She keeps jumping on the table and being like, "Oh, I'm gonna just get in everything."
Well, clearly you're not paying enough attention to her.
Oh, she's been like this since I moved. It's just like,
This is a strange environment.
hold me all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I've heard cats are actually more attached to their territory than their people. I think I would believe that. based
Yeah.
on the cats I know.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know. The sun is right in my eyes, so I'm just, blinking here. Shading my eyes. Maybe I'll just hunch down so my computer blocks it a bit. Okay, we could think about it. But we've got the main elements of it, though. That you're an emissary of power for Hades, and that you've inherited the curio shop, which is somehow connected to that, right?
Too bad it's not a restaurant. Hell's Kitchen is so obvious.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it could be like, oh man, that is a good one.
A coffee shop, because it's Vancouver.
True. Yeah.
Coffee roaster.
Wow. Wow. Then it could be like underground something.
The underworld of underworld beings.
Undergrounds.
Underground.
Underground? Oh my god!
Oh.
Amazing.
That's fucking perfect.
Okay, well.
Sorry, I'm being so difficult. I'm
No,
just
that's
like-
okay. It's
difficult.
thinking.
Yeah,
You don't have to get hung up on it either. You could literally just call it Hades' Emissary of Power.
For now, yeah, and then come up
And
with
then, like,
something
add an
else.
adjective.
Yeah, why don't we just pin it as that for now. We can come up with a snappy name for it as we go, and maybe when you're picking powers, etc., something might spark something there. So essentially, as an emissary of power, you can have a lot of different things. Like, there's a wide range of things that you could possibly do. It's just going to be what fits the flavor of what you're looking for. Essentially, again, you're limited by your refresh cost. And you may have I'm thinking if you have a shop that is connected to it, the whole being an emissary, you may also have an item that contains some of the power.
Okay.
You don't have to, but that's a thought that I had in terms of what might be appropriate. I don't know what you're feeling. But
Yeah.
but essentially, you can probably if you take a look through supernatural powers, which are listed on page 158, you'll definitely have access to a few of those things. Or sorry, they're listed, start being listed on 160, actually. If you take a look through and see something that might be interesting to you, let me know. And you can also take a look at sponsored magic, which is listed there as well, seeing as you have directly a sponsor in Hades. So you may be able to have some specific spells.
I feel like I need like a sponsor sticker or like a tattoo. Or like one of those like racing jackets.
nice. Yeah, powered by Hades.
This episode of Dresden Files brought to you by
like Hades coffee, like powered by Hades.
Nice.
I kind of like it. Not gonna lie.
I'm not forgetting this coffee shop idea. I might switch to that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, feel free. It can be, you can have pretty much anything. There's some good name pun potential there. So, yeah, okay. So if you take a look through there, and maybe think about what sort of thing you might want to have. While you do that, why don't we take a look at Renee's character and what you've got going for you so far? Ugh. So tragic for you. However, will you deal?
It is. Very tragic.
Very. Very.
And
very
my push to talk button is V, so I'm typing V all over my character sheet.
Good job.
Hold on. I must fix it.
Holding on.
Okay. There we go. Is that working? That's working.
I think so.
I am going to be a minor talent because I don't want to be crazy magic or anything like that. And my minor talent that I've decided I wanted to go with is Ghost Speaker.
Nice.
And by day, I am a hipster paranormal investigator. But using my ghost whispering abilities, I'm actually a hipster ghost buster. You see? So, as a paranormal investigator, I am hired or I seek out hauntings or specific occurrences or apparitions. And my ultimate goal is to actually A, get proof that I'm not fucking crazy and I am talking to ghosts, and B, rid the area of these apparitions. And I've decided my name aptly with the hipster glasses and cardigans and, you know, like the leather shoulder bag filled with old analog equipment, because that's obviously the only thing that'll work for filming or dispelling ghosts, is Howard Toft,
Nice.
paranormal investigator.
I like it.
And that's as far as I've actually gotten.
Okay. Perfect. So essentially then you know pretty much what powers you're taking, correct?
Power,
Or
yeah.
you're just taking a single one?
I'm only allowed to take a single one.
Okay. Perfect. And then let me just take a quick look at your particular type and template, just so that I'm making sure you've got what you need. Focus practitioner, lycanthrope, minor talent. So yes, you must have the high concept that mentions the talent, which you do.
I mean, the other option is I could totally
The character
be...
may then take a single 1 refresh cost or 2 refresh with approval 2 refresh cost from supernatural powers. Okay, perfect. So there's really not too much you have to worry about that. I do not know if you've looked through mortal stunts.
No, not yet. I have not got to any of the skills, talents, or whatever, and into stunts. Okay. Not yet.
Perfect.
I wanted to just get through that part so that we can work through the background and all that stuff.
That's great. That's good. So what I would say is take a quick look through mortal stunts to decide if you want any of them. Essentially what those are is you excel at a specific thing that is totally within mortal ability. Now, and just think about how they might line up with your character. So, for example, I could see you having an investigation as a mortal stunt, or empathy, maybe lore, maybe. Simply because part of your character is about investigating the supernatural and trying to prove it to people.
These are different than skills then? They're like super skills, or
they're
or
essentially yeah, they're trappings on top of skills. So it's basically you're particularly good at this.
Gotcha.
And they're mostly taken by the people who go vanilla mortal, or let me just refresh here. Yeah, so each mortal stunt that a character takes reduces his refresh by 1, so it still takes away from refresh. Which I thought was the case, but I just wanted to double check. But yeah, if you read them, they're pretty.
I shall press.
Yeah, they're pretty self-explanatory things. Sorry, as I'm just skimming really quickly here. Yeah, okay. Perfect, that works. So if you take a look through that, then where are you at, Adrian, on yours?
I have technical questions.
Of course. Yes.
Okay, so doing the aquatically obsessed bureaucrat.
Mm-hmm.
The trouble is absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I think in terms of stunts and power,
Yep.
aquatic is what I need to have. But also I wanted to see if I could just like take evocation and only channel water.
So yeah, I was looking at this because I knew that that was something you were thinking about. So I think we can tailor it so that you can take an evocation power that is specifically for water.
Yeah.
And
Unseelie magic would also work as well because I think that's in there. Or
yeah,
it's
yes,
that's broader.
So the question is whether you want to start with Unseelie magic, because Unseelie magic is a -4 refresh, correct?
Sorry, it's a minus what?
4?
I think so. I think I want to start off with like really minor evocation.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And in that case, what I think might work well for it is essentially a modified form of a sponsored magic. Now, what do you want to be able to do with water? Do you want to have a power that's fairly specific, or a suite of powers that's fairly specific in how you can control the water? Or would you like something that is a little bit more malleable and you can situationally attempt to do things when it involves water?
I think I'd like the flexibility.
Okay, that'll cost you more. But we can do it. So...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to think about the specific stuff.
Let me just take a look here.
And I mean, it really depends on how specific.
I mean, it wouldn't be, like, super specific. Like, Fate isn't built around being, like, you can do 2 damage with this attack. It's more flexible than that. But the idea would be, oh, I can move water, or I can change the temperature of water, or I can... that sort of thing would be more specific than there's water involved, I'm going to try and craft something around it, right?
Yeah, I think I like the creativity.
Okay. So, let me just take a quick look. Evocation, spellcraft. So if we want to do something where you take evocation, but it is solely in the realm of when you are dealing with water as the magic. Normally evocation is a -3 to take.
Yeah.
I think probably if we limit it to that, we can probably do it for a -2.
Okay.
I may impose, especially at the beginning of your getting used to these sort of things, a power level cap for what you're able to accomplish with it. But apart from that, yeah, I think we can do that as a power.
Excellent.
Because normally evocation would come with a huge suite of different things.
Yeah, no, I want to stay very, very specific.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. I think that'll work. And I haven't made the cheat sheet about how magic works yet, but that's on my list for this week to do.
Yay! I'm definitely gonna need it.
Yes. Because it's not explained particularly well in this book. It's one of the complaints that people had about it. Yeah. Perfect. I like that. Is there anything else you wanted to take to start? Remember, as a changeling, you'll have opportunities where you're offered more power.
Yeah, no, I'm good with what I've got.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, the it's that whole trade-off, that danger of taking more.
Hey, I already have my backup character planned.
Excellent. Yeah, I watched the video of you doing your axe throwing. That's pretty badass. I'm just gonna say.
So fun.
You make it look easy.
Yeah.
That was at the end of like an hour and a half of practice that consisted of me hitting everything except the target, or hitting the target with the handle of the axe or the butt of the axe. It was good.
You're actually, yeah, but like, your secret life is that you're just like an assassin.
Okay, so my backup idea was a LARPer who has seen some shit, and I want them to throw axes.
Oh my god, yes.
Okay, well that's great. And then yeah, so you've got the supernatural powers, and then we'll deal with skills all together as well if we want to. But skills are a little bit. We'll do them when we're all doing them because the whole explanation of how you allocate them is confusing at best. Okay, so Zoe, have you taken a look through those supernatural powers?
There's so many.
There are so many. Are there any that are popping out to you though, as things you might be interested in? Or if you have any concepts for something that aren't listed, we can build them. That's a thing Fate allows.
I like shape-shifting, like the gaseous form and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh man. Yeah, or
That's an expensive one, but
or demonic co-pilot.
What's that one?
Running around in a body that isn't yours, so you
Oh,
is hard, so
sneaky.
you contract out the hard work to a spirit, usually an evil, angry one.
Nice.
So do you... Let me read this.
Yeah, also the vampirism ones are like pretty neat. Maybe I don't have a family, maybe I'm just like really, really old because I'm a vampire, I don't know.
Well, in terms of being a vampire. So if you're a white court vampire, I mean, you can't play a fully vampire person.
Yeah.
If you're a white court vampire, it would be inherited through the family. And you just have to pick one of the families, what they feed on. And you wouldn't be an emissary of power because you can't really build them on top of each other to start. And then red court, you would be a half-turned. So you get a little bit of extra life and some souped-up powers, but you have to deal with hunger, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And avoid killing.
Damn it.
Clearly not an option.
Yeah, not Interview with a Vampire style vampire.
Let's see. Well, you said, what was it? Item of power?
Yeah, so you could have some sort of item of power which gives you an ability, and that's essentially covered under the sponsored magic.
Where does it? I haven't seen sponsored before. In here.
Let me see where it is. Sponsored magic varies. Some varieties of magic draw on power sources external to the practitioner. Invariably, these sources of power have some kind of agenda of their own. See spellcasting page 287 for details about the various kinds. So the cost of sponsored magic changes depending on whether or not you already have evocation or thaumaturgy. This also affects whether or not sponsored magic gives you any additional focus item slots. If you're paying full price, you get 4 focus item slots with this ability. If you have either evocation or thaumaturgy, thus reducing the cost, you only get 2 additional. So essentially, yeah. So that means you could have 4 focus items. If you take sponsored magic, you would probably have to choose... Let me just go straight to the sponsored magic on 287. So that I am telling you true things. Blah blah blah. Result of a pact, so you'd essentially be drawing on Hades' power. It's essentially equivalent to taking the channeling and ritual abilities priced at 2 refresh apiece. With the sponsored source of power replacing the usual specialized focus. This can be mix and match if the character knows evocation but not thaumaturgy. The price would be a total of 3 refresh. Just a second to tech. Let me just read quick. Okay. So sponsored magic is subject to the limitations of evocation or thaumaturgy, which it emulates. In order to gain the benefits of sponsored magic, the spell you're casting must align with the agenda of the sponsor and fit into the theme and scope of the sponsor's particular flavor of power. As a result, sponsored magic is narrower in its focus and has a sort of implicit approval component in exchange for the extra bit of potency and flexibility it offers. So they're always colored at least a touch by the sponsor's influence and agenda. If you take a consequence from sponsored magic, whether from backlash or just because, it gives sponsor a window to compel you in various ways. I think it would work really well. And you can either have it innately or you can have it tied to items that you carry with you.
I'd rather innately let people don't steal my shit.
Fair enough. So yeah, in that case, do you want access to both so there's the Seelie magic, there's unseelie magic. Yeah, let's not be a Kemlerian necromancer, please.
I like necromancy.
I mean, sure, if you want to be a necromancer, you're going to be having a lot of problems with the council, but also a Kemlerite, please no. They're a special brand. Hellfire. Soulfire. Yeah, so what I would say is, why don't we go with... Yeah, so would you like to be able to complete both evocation, which are sort of the in-the-moment sort of able to do things magic, and thaumaturgy, which is the takes a long time sort of ritual magic? Or would you like only one of them?
Both.
Okay, so that'll cost you more, which is fine. In that case... let me just take a quick look at the costs of the supernatural powers again, because it's all scattered throughout the book. So to take evocation. I should have made a cheat sheet for this. For myself. So, evocation, ritual. Spellcraft, channeling. So I think, if I'm getting this correctly, let me just take a quick look at the wizard template because that'll answer my question right away. So that's a focus practitioner versus the wizard. Okay, so I think, okay, you can either take, and I'm kind of thinking as an emissary of power, it might lean. So there's evocation and thaumaturgy, which are the big main ones. They're the full-powered ones. And both of those cost a -3 each. So it would be -6 to take both of them. However, there's the channeling and ritual, which is the same one that the focus practitioner gets. And each one of those only takes a -2 to and a -2. Sorry, the Emissary of Power, the sponsored magic is a little bit difficult to understand, so I'm just figuring it out. 287. Sponsors are at least somewhere. Abilities. Okay. I getcha. Okay, I getcha. Sorry as I read and mumble to myself.
How dare.
90.
This process is always so ridiculously involved for character creation.
It does seem very complicated.
Yeah. Like, it's not just like I just get a general idea and dive in. Like, it's like this person needs to have like a life. You need to know your siblings' names, their birth, your parents, grandparents. You need to know where you were 5 years ago. You need to know exactly what happened January 5th.
It's not quite that specific, but sure.
This is why it's so much easier when everyone's dead.
Okay, so what I'm gonna say is that it's gonna be similar, probably, to probably unseelie magic. If you take a look on page 290, it's not going to be unseelie magic because it's not going to be tied to the Winter Court. But I think that that's probably a good template to go with.
I thought it said wiener.
Wiener magic. Unseelie wiener magic. and this is why I made it a mature channel.
Yeah, we're so mature.
Well, that's, the point, is that you don't have to stay mature. Okay, perfect. So, yeah, I would say that that's not a bad template. I mean, you would have much less, ice cold related things, probably. But if we're going with Hades as a patron, then the death and decay and things like that, probably. I'm gonna say also making sure dead things stay dead is probably a thing for Hades.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The that line between life and death. I mean, if you want to play it a little bit different, if you want to try and bring some necromancy in there, we can do that. I will warn you, that's against the laws of magic, so somebody will come.
And Hades.
Take
Hades is
interest.
all about keeping things dead. Like
Yeah.
100%. Guardian of the dead. People can't leave the underworld. So I don't think
Yeah.
Hades would be on the side of necromancy.
Yeah.
Unless for a
keep them
specific
dead.
cause. So yeah, I think that probably would be a good one, which means that I think that your cost for this is going to be a -4. Having read it now, that makes sense because the idea is you're getting evocation and thaumaturgy, but it's limited by your patron, right? So you're only able to do things in line with Hades' flavor, as it were.
Mm.
So it's discounted from the -6 that it would normally be if you were like taking it as a wizard.
Okay.
If that makes sense?
Yes.
Yes. I think. And then essentially what we're gonna have to do, what you're gonna have to do is just sort of think of the sort of things you want to be able to accomplish with your magic. Starting on page 293, there's some examples of spells, but really you don't have to come up with anything specific at the beginning if you don't want to. You can make these sort of things up during play, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I want to try and do this sort of thing. Or you can come up with a few signature ones that you do a lot, and then you tweak them for doing, more fancy things. But it just gives you an idea of things. Like, perhaps an entropy curse might fit. Mind fogs. Memoriam, Mematorium, Memoritis. Wow, I can really pronounce Latin words, as you can tell.
Disco Inferno.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Oh shit, that should be your high concept.
Disco Inferno! Yes! What does it... I can't remember exactly what it translates to anymore. What was it? It's...
Learning through suffering.
Oh, okay, yes. Yes.
Or no wait.
No,
yeah.
is it? Is that what it is?
Learning is your hell or something?
Yeah. I learned by way of hell or something? I don't know.
Hell
I
is learning.
googled it after I saw that post because I was like, I want this to be real. And mostly
Inferno is hell, and disco is learning. So yeah, I think
learning is hell.
something like... This is not a particularly helpful website apparently for me, but... I learn by means of hell. This is the translation, apparently. Which actually kind of fits. It kind of fits the concept rather well.
Yeah.
I gotta say.
Disco Inferno. I mean, like selling books or whatever.
Yeah. Hades as a patron with a bookshop / curio shop. That could even be the name of your shop, like.
Yes.
And your I would say your high concept would be something like the last proprietor of Disco Inferno or something like that.
I like that.
And then your shop is Disco Inferno. I kind of really like it. I don't know if you like it as much as I do, but
Yeah.
okay. I think that's great. Okay, yeah, I like it. Okay, perfect then. I like that. I like that a lot. So I think at this stage, I'm gonna say let's wait on doing skills until after we've done a little bit more of the background character building. So let's do our story part, because I think if we do the story part, some of the skills might come into play. The other way we can do it is we could do the building the skills in as we play. So as a skill comes up, I can be like, does anyone have this skill at a certain level? But let's get into the fiction part of it. So, the fiction part of building your characters. The other thing that I don't think a couple of you have right now is... Oh, okay. So, Adrian, or Evelyn Calder, the aquatically obsessed bureaucrat, who is a changeling, you currently have a trouble aspect in, as absolute power corrupts absolutely. Which I think is a fairly good one for a changeling, because as you gain power, you lose free will. Yeah. So that I think works well. No, good. Okay. And then Howard Toft. What is your trouble aspect?
I don't know!
So, for your trouble aspects, what you want is something that consistently throughout your character's life has been causing them trouble. And it will come up fairly frequently. So, let me just find the character creation art. So, trouble. So if your high concept is what or who your character is, your trouble is the answer to a simple question. What complicates your high concept? Trouble has many forms, can generally be broken up into two types: internal conflicts / personal struggles, and external problems. Both threaten the character or are difficult to contain. Whatever form the trouble takes, it drives the character to take action, voluntarily or not. A character that does not have some sort of recurring issue is going to have a much harder time finding motivation, and that sort of character doesn't tend to have many reasons to go out and do the crazy things that make for adventure. So... examples were that they gave in the book were for Karen Murphy, one of hers would be unbelieving bureaucracy. So she's a cop who her superiors don't believe in the supernatural, but she's left dealing with the supernatural cases. And having to work around the bureaucracy. Harry Dresden's is the temptation of power, much like Evelyn's is. Michael, the Knight of the Cross, is a family man, which complicates his job as a Knight of the Cross. Things like that.
I can interact with the dead. I figured that is a problem in and of itself.
Okay,
What is that Michael J. Fox movie?
So,
the one where he actually sees the ghosts and they're always harassing him because they want him to help them resolve their issues. What the hell is that movie now?
No, I think I...
Oh no. Sorry, I don't actually know which
I have no
one.
idea.
The Frightener.
I don't think I've seen it, so I have no idea.
Okay. Well, that's definitely going to be something with that. Going on based on the idea that, you know, for a ghost to stick around, it has unresolved issues. So the only way that you can help a ghost fuck off is it resolve its issues, right?
So do you want your trouble aspect to be constantly harassed by the dead or something like that?
The idea.
Because
I'm literally like, not only can I see ghosts, but ghosts can more easily interact and see me. So they're definitely going to be drawn to me for exactly the purpose of, right? I
that
can't
can be a
touch the
trouble.
world, but I can talk to you. Fucking do the thing.
So I would say there's one, like there were two things I thought of. There's that route, or there's the route of the mundane interactions. So you could also go the route of nobody believes me as being a trouble aspect. But either one works. I don't want to push you in either direction because they're both good.
Technically, they both finding something that describes both of those things would be it.
I mean,
that is
the thing is,
why I am doing
whichever one you want to be your primary should go in the trouble aspect. You can cover the other one with one of your other aspects. But you don't have to get both.
Like, absolute power corrupts absolutely is a sentence that is very broad and specific at the same time. There has to be something that is both specific and broad about being harassed by ghosts.
Okay.
And nobody believing you.
Let's see. If anyone has any ideas, pop in.
Yeah,
but
I'm kind of, like, thinking about like the idea of being trapped in like a parallel world almost. Like you're interacting with reality, but not the same reality as everyone else. Out of phase, kind of.
My trouble aspect is literally just going to be caught between two worlds.
Oh, that works. That's awesome.
Actually, yeah, that does it.
Yeah.
Because I'm both dealing with the whole people not believing me, so that's why I pretend like I'm a paranormal investigator. That makes them less, you can talk to ghosts. But at the same time, I still have to deal with the fact that I actually can talk to ghosts and that they do have unresolved issues that they want me to help. So,
yeah, that works.
Two worlds.
No, I like it. That's a good one. Okay, so we've got trouble aspect for Howard Toft, and for Evelyn, how about Haroldina Bananakinter? Haha. I pronounced it correctly.
Why don't you just call her Fana?
No.
Hannah Banana, faux Fana.
Trouble aspect.
How did I get too many?
That was me.
Maps on the board.
Because I didn't like the size of the image, and I realized if I clicked on it and held it, it made the image huge, and then I let go, and it dropped it on the map, and I was like...
I can't... Oh, that's because I've got a... There we go. It's okay. I got them. I was like, what?
3 of them.
I see that. Yeah, okay. I got rid of them. We're good. We're good. I was like, why can't I select them? And then I realized I was on the measure tool, so that's why I couldn't select them.
Oh yeah, so yeah, if you open Vancouver and you click and hold on the image, it shows you a perfectly sized, readable version, but if you let go, it drops it on the map at the very back.
Oh.
So I just did it again
I
accidentally.
can put it in the... Here, I'll put it in the handouts, and then you can just zoom in to your heart's content without having that problem. How's that?
I mean, fine, I guess, sure, whatever.
Add a handout. And the file that I'm going to put in there is the map. Although it won't have the little tips on it.
That's fine.
Did you do all of the lettering yourself? It's really nice.
Yes.
That map is amazing, yeah.
Yes, I did.
That's
100% hand drawn and then watercolored.
Yep.
Wow.
Jeez.
I drew it on Wednesday, and then I watercolored it while watching Critical Role on Thursday.
Nice.
Dude, you should think about, like, I don't know.
Selling it,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
keep fucking telling her that, and she's like, no, they're not that good.
They are. I think they're that good.
It's more that it takes me a long time to do it, and then the amount that I
That's
have to charge
called
to actually, like,
Art.
make it back. And then do I want it to actually, like, be beholden to a schedule because somebody's paid me for them, right?
That's not how it works, though.
No, just draw them, put them up on, like, Etsy
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, and do prints of them.
Okay, there you
And
go.
if
Oh,
people want to
guess I'd
commission you
better
for stuff,
I guess I'd better title it as not Mysterious Note, but maybe as Map.
I mean, mysteriousness.
Mysterious note.
Vancouver Map. And I guess I can delete their automatic Mysterious Note handout. There we go. Okay, I can also just, like, send you a copy of it if you want. Why did you just... Did somebody just make a card deck appear?
Nope.
Hey, you left it in the macros, so I'm definitely gonna do it.
There's the map again. Stop putting the map on there. Okay. Anyway. I mean, we can have card decks in. Like, you can literally actually play cards. Okay, so, are you dealing cards to people? Somebody got distracted. Okay, Heraldina, trouble aspect. So far, we have a high concept now for you, right?
Yes.
Do you want me to add that in? Or do you want to?
Disco Inferno.
So, the last proprietor of...
Last proprietor of the Disco Inferno.
Wait, what?
Because Disco Inferno means learning through hell. Or something like that. I can't remember the
Learning
exact...
by suffering.
Yeah. Which makes it a pretty decent aspect, really. Okay, and then trouble. So what do you want to have complicating your aspect? Is there a threat to your shop? Is your shop in somebody else's territory? Is there something like personal that causes issues with the whole Hades as a inherited patron? Any ideas?
He's kind of a pain in the ass because although he enjoys his fine art and knickknacks, he also enjoys his relics. So I am forced because of him to possibly deal in shitty relic trade. I don't know.
Okay. That's interesting. So need to collect,
or like deal in relics, which means that it's like having to deal with like people I'd really rather not deal with.
Okay. So something related to your clientele and traders, and sources. So, can't be choosy about clientele or something of that sort? Or can't be choosy...
Bad company.
Something like that, actually. Yeah, that sounds a little bit better. Oh, I don't know.
You can pick your friends. You can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
You can't pick your patron's nose.
Accurate.
I mean, unless they want you to. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that one was my first facepalm of the... the GM facepalm. Which I accidentally invented as a salute, apparently. It's not how I was picturing it, guys. I was picturing it like this, but apparently, yeah, that's a facepalm, sure. Anyway, well, sounds like that's gonna tie into the "you wouldn't download a relic" threat. So I'm being distracted by the fact that there's cards being flipped onto the table. I could just remove it from your ability to do that.
Pair of fours beat that.
I put out a queen. I win.
I win. What game are you playing?
Oh shit. Pair of jack.
Damn
It's fine.
straight.
It's fine. How do you make them go away?
You made your bed, now lie in it.
I can flip the card.
I don't even know where the deck went.
It's under macro. I hit it again.
Oh. Because I can make them go away if you put the deck back. I mean, I can also directly make them go away by doing this.
She's too quick!
Stop it! Okay, how about something like... the relic trade is shady, or... can't choose
I don't
those
often
you
sell
make
relics, but when
deals
I do,
with? Dangerous dealings? Dangerous
there
dealings
you
with
go.
a bad
That's
crowd.
perfect.
That's pretty good. Is that sort of what you're going for?
Which one?
Dangerous dealings with a bad crowd.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that could be tagged in multiple ways, so I like it. Because it'll help you when you need to find someone who can do something shady, but it will also not help you because of that. Okay, so then the next phase of what we need to do is people need backgrounds. How did you grow up? Where did you live? What's your relationship with your family? So, for example, we already know of Haroldina that she inherited Disco Inferno, and all of her family are dead.
They died tragically in a plane crash.
In a freak gasoline fight accident.
Yeah.
Perfect. So if you want to write a little blurb for essentially her early life. Basically, you can just look at the list of questions on the character sheet if you want to give you an idea of what to answer. And then outside of that, once you have that down, come up with an aspect. We have to come up with an aspect that fits that background. So, if you grew up in this place with lots of books and were super into reading and learning, you could have an aspect of something like, well, okay, I thought of one, but it's a little maybe too positive, because you want something that can be tagged both positively and negatively for the most, but you could be like buried in a book, or buried in books, or
Read books, fuck bitches.
What?
So Adrian, do you agree with me putting the Twitch as a...
Yes.
If
No,
this
I
is
do.
coming up immediately in character creation?
Yes, I suppose it counts as mature content.
But yeah, so that's the sort of thing. I think right now Evelyn has a background. Do you want to,
She has sort of a background. She is a university-educated bureaucrat with an absent father and a mother dead, or so she thinks, who grew up in small-town BC and moved to the big city to further her education. At this time, she did not know that she's supernatural, only that strange things seem to happen around her. For a phase aspect right now, I have rules lawyering in the big city. But I'm open to suggestions.
That's actually not bad for someone who is a Fae descendant and has some decided feelings about truth.
Mm-hmm.
And following rules, etc., and equal exchanges of gifts, etc. That's not bad. So the question is, can we think of some examples of how you're going to be able to tag that fairly frequently? Because that's the thing. We want them to be useful for you guys, and if we find that they're not being useful, we can change them during play. That's totally allowed. Because essentially you want to be able to tag this when you're in situations to give you a boost. So you want there to be situations where you're like, oh, I am in my element here because of this, or because of this, I can tag it. But you also want it to be able to be compelled, or for you to compel it in negative ways, so that you can gain fate points. Because that's how you gain the fate points to spend to tag them in positive ways.
I think the negative of rules lawyering is that you're bound by the rules, but the upside is that you can wiggle around them.
Yeah, that's true. You can find the loopholes, etc. And stick to the letter of the law. Well, maybe not the spirit of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think a lot of rules lawyering actually is, like, especially in role-playing games, to be honest.
It's so true.
Okay, no, I like that. Howard, do you have a background?
No, not yet.
Well,
I haven't put thought to it.
What do you want to do for a background?
I don't know.
Where do you want to have grown up?
I don't know.
No. How much schooling do you want to have?
Oh, a lot, obviously.
Are you still going to school?
Oh, definitely not. Not since, ghosts.
Not since ghosts? So how much school?
Enough.
Bachelor's.
Yeah, probably a bachelor.
Partway through a bachelor's.
Probably going for a master's, but then had to back out due to personal problems.
Fair. I like that. What was he gonna do a master's in? Just curious.
Psychology.
Hmm.
Psychiatry?
People
science!
Psychiatry is sort of the doctor
It's the wishy-washy
route.
one.
Psychology. If you want, yeah, it's not necessarily wishy-washy, but that's the one you call wishy-washy, yes.
The non-science.
No, it is a science. It is actually science. It's just a social science. One is a doctor, like a medical doctor.
Yeah.
The other one are the people who
doctor.
actually do the science behind that sort of thing.
Not a doctor.
Okay. Psychology. Yes.
No, I don't know if I want to go with that.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's up to you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And can you think of an aspect that would be related to your beginnings? This is before the rising conflict of what shaped you, so something that's probably before your ghost thing happened, unless you've been seeing ghosts since you were a child.
No, I don't think we're gonna do that. That's boring. I would have not turned into a hipster. I probably would have gone freaking insane. I mean, I guess I could have been super friendly with them too, where my imaginary friend was actually a dead person. So I mean, that would be kind of fun, right?
Yep. And you just happen to like resolve their problem at about
Gigi, the purple
at
people
about
eater, was actually a fucking
maybe
demon
just
ghost.
maybe just slightly later than most people let go of their imaginary friends. You resolved their problem and they were able to move on. So it didn't seem to flag anything. That's kind of a neat concept if you like it.
Yeah, I know, but then I'd be crazy comfortable with it, and then I wouldn't be running around as a paranormal investigator unless that was full on. Because there's this.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
You could have possibly even managed to like suppress it for several years after that, being like it's not, But who knows? You do you. Do how you want. You do you.
Okay, so what is my aspect that I'm looking for? Where's my shit?
Where's your shit? Get your shit together.
Just pronounced wrong.
What?
Not shit, it's shit.
Shit.
S-H-E-T. Shit.
Shit. I'm just gonna keep
Where did
saying
I
it the
come
same
from?
way.
God damn.
Where did you go? Where did you come from? Cut my guitar. Give everyone terrible flashbacks to junior high. Okay, so you think about that if you want. Oh, we have a new name.
Not Heraldina.
Not Heraldina anymore. We are now Althea Van Dalen.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Vandalin.
Sure. Emissary of Power, the last proprietor of the Disco Inferno. Dangerous dealings.
Burn, baby, burn.
With crowd? Did I type that in there wrong?
When you type it in, can you see it all? Because I only see like the middle of the words.
If you go to, I can see it all. It sometimes takes a little bit to refresh, but also if you go to character as opposed to worksheet, there's more room for the aspects.
Okay.
But yeah. So your background, have you thought about it? I'm imagining you probably grew up here if you've inherited the shop, unless the shop is one of those sort of like like the trope of the shop that can pop up in different locations. Just sort of magically appears, travels every once in a while.
I like that.
With all the cursed items.
Monkey's paw.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones where it suddenly appears but has always been there.
I'll think about it.
Okay. So you're not quite sure where you grew up, etc. You know that you probably grew up around the shop, in the shop, with your family. How did they die? They died in a plane crash, you said? Yes?
Yes.
What age were you?
14. Sure, 14.
Okay, so they died when you were 14. Did you have any other family that took care of you, or were you on your own with this shop at 14?
On my own, I'll say.
Okay, so you were on your own at 14. Did you basically just try and hide that from the government and...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you avoided being put in the system at all.
Through various means of forgery and
okay.
Masquerade.
Lying, stayed out of system, and took over shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the rest of my family won't talk to me because they know that we're like cursed or something.
Rest of family doesn't communicate because cursed, or at least that's how they see it.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I like it. Okay. So, out of that background, we need to come up with an aspect, and I think there's a bunch that really could, that could fit.
I'm a like, it gets passed down matrilineally, and so like the original person in my family who got the curse was like Persephone or something.
Okay, that's kind of cool. I like all of your characters so far, by the way. So the phase aspect from your early childhood. I'm gonna say if you took over the shop at 14 and avoided like having any guardianship, something along the lines of being self-reliant is probably a decent one to come out of this, unless you have some other ideas.
Yeah.
So a phase aspect, something that could work well as an aspect that you could tag positively and negatively, could be something along the lines of, I can get this on my own, or, I don't need other help, or something like that. But essentially, when you're doing something on your own, you can probably tag it positively. And then it can be compelled negatively when other people are offering you help.
Yeah.
That you might need.
No, I got this.
Falls downstairs. Yeah.
I got this is also not a bad aspect.
Yeah, I got this. I like that.
Okay. That actually is a pretty good aspect. Renee, any progress on yours?
No, I can't.
I can help. I can ask you questions, but you have to answer them.
No, you know, I got this. Okay, I got this.
It's not your aspect. That's Althea's. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah.
Althea?
Althea.
Okay. So then the other things that people have to think about. So Howard is the only one without a background so far. So tragic, me pushing you to make a character. Which is what we're doing today. However will you deal?
With great difficulty.
Okay, but we want to get to the. I want to hurry you a little because I want to get to actually doing the phases where you guys have to interact with each other's stories. So if you want to skip your background for now, we can actually move to the next one if you know more about how you want to do the rest of it. But remember, there are people who need to sleep. Including myself.
Oh, yeah, no, I got it.
Including myself. Got it, you got it? Evelyn has her rising conflict.
I'm working on it.
It doesn't have to be too big. It's, you know. Uncanny Valley. Okay. Yeah. So essentially the rising conflict is essentially sort of a good way to construct it can be sort of when did your trouble aspect come into play. That's a good way to start ideas, unless you've got a particular idea. Essentially the main conflict that led you into the supernatural for people who aren't born in it, I think in the case of Althea, she's probably been exposed to the supernatural from a very young age, so that's more background for her. But I would say probably some of the initial dealings with a bad crowd might not be a bad rising conflict for her, for example. So a story of some dealings with a group or an individual who is not so great. And probably supernatural, because most of these should be related to sort of the supernatural world. Or who just deals in supernatural artifacts. They could be a vanilla mortal with, you know. I mean, that could also go into what your first adventure is, but essentially, rising conflict, you could also even just think of it as when you've entered adulthood. What is your situation? Too. Because yeah, the phase 3, the story, what was your first adventure, is kind of your first major supernatural interaction. So your rising conflict might even have been... I mean, I think the rising conflict works for you, Adrian, too, if you want it in there, and then the story can be the first time you more deliberately did it.
Yeah, I think that works.
Just giving people some time to think. If anyone wants me to prompt them, let me know. Actually, apparently there are 2 people who are currently watching us, maybe.
Oh.
Hello,
swanky.
Electrical
Wow.
Skateboard and Thronezilla.
Rule number 1 of Twitch: never call out lurkers.
I don't know if that's a rule. Why not?
One of the people I follow does, and I kind of like it. The only way I get any recognition.
Not everyone likes being pointed out.
Fair. If you don't want to point it out, I will leave it at that.
So
I just wasn't expecting anyone watching us, so.
Nah. In terms of first adventure, does it have to be like an adventure, or can it be like I went swimming and then accidentally stuck my feet in a block of ice and didn't drown?
I mean,
That could be, for sure.
hard to be
That could be part of the
block of
adventure.
ice on the ground.
Oh, because
water.
yeah, I'm doing a water theme.
She made the ice, essentially.
Yeah,
Oh.
so the rising conflict I have is
So-
that, you know, a friend and I were attacked by something not quite human. I did something, the puddles turned to ice, attacker fell, we had time to escape. And I became one step more removed from humanity.
So remember that all of the stories from Phase 3 on are going to be contributed to by other characters. So, the examples that they have here, for... I'll do the Harry Dresden's background. Background, where did you come from? Grew up, son of stage magician Malcolm, mother Maggie, died in birth. Spent much time on the road with dad, then dad died of brain aneurysm, adopted by Justin Dumorn, a wizard, to be trained in the arts of magic. And got my mother's silver pentacle as an aspect, because that's the physical tie that he got. The rising conflict was met first love Elaine Mallory, a fellow apprentice of Dumorn's, eventually learned that Dumorn was a bad dude. Justin enthralled Elaine, I escaped, sought help of fairy godmother, returned to kill Justin, placed under the doom, and adopted by Ebenezer. And took the aspect of chivalry is not dead, damn it, because of Elaine. And then, the first one, the story, what was your first adventure, essentially is the blurb for Stormfront, which is the first book. When a series of grisly supernatural murders tears through Chicago, wizard Harry Dresden sets out to find the killer, but will Harry succeed when he finds himself pitted against a dark wizard, a warden of the White Council, a vicious gang war, and the Chicago Police Department? And it guest stars Karen Murphy. So, Karen's character would have a role in it, which would be one of hers, Phase 4 or Phase 5. So you can choose, you can have something of that sort happen. Just remember to leave space for somebody else to tie into that story and contribute it in either a helping way or in a complicating the situation way.
Well,
and think of this as like, because the rest of those, so your background, your rising conflict, and the story are the 3 that you get to have as a story. That's your stories. And then the last 2 are your contributions to the other 2 story. If that makes sense? At all?
yeah.
Yeah. So we have to fill out 3 and 4 too?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. We'll fill out Phase 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay.
And then 4 and 5 are going to be ones where you are you have crossed the other two's path at some point, essentially, and contributed to their story.
So for guest starring in Phase 3, you can like basically make up an NPC of
No,
sorts?
no. The person who is guest starring in that story is going to be either Howard or Evelyn,
Oh, okay.
and that will be their Phase 4, for example.
Okay. My only friend is the delivery guy.
Aw.
Is that gonna be your face aspect?
His name is James.
Oh no.
Oh, hey, so did we say that there was a ghostly guardian at the steam clock?
At the steam clock, what we had gone with was Ron Bennett, the character artist who captures more than your portrait. As a manifestation of the steam clock, which is more than just a tourist trap.
Right.
However, there is lots of opportunity to place some ghostly aspects around the city. We have many locations we can build.
Yeah, that would, I think, provide a good opportunity for character interaction, at least with Howard.
Yes. I'm sure
What
that
about
ghosts will be coming up because of Howard, for sure.
Well, yeah, there will be lots of me talking to no one.
But yeah, there can be. Let me see. Let me even look up. I'm sure that there are lots of Vancouver ghost stories. Because, you know. Oh, yeah, I mean, there's Deadman's Island.
Oh, I like it.
That's right near the 9 o'clock gun in Stanley Park.
Perfect.
A small naval base just off Stanley Park. Almost too gothic to be believed. Once a pest house for smallpox victims, it was also the city's first graveyard. Nobody has any idea how many people have been buried there.
Whoa. What's it called?
Hopefully the Royal Canadian Navy soldiers and sailors and staff who live there today are heavy sleepers. Apparently the sound of chains being dragged around the island late at night is often heard. Dead Man's Island.
Cool.
There is the Penthouse nightclub. It's the history of Vancouver stuffed into that old building on Seymour Street like a stripper into a bustier. so said Vancouver heritage advocate Maida Price. As you might expect for one of the city's oldest night spots, an infamous venue dating back to the 1940s, which is the proud former haunt of the likes of Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr., the Penthouse has no shortage of scare stories. Its resident ghost is said to be a middle-aged woman dressed demurely who reportedly enjoys freaking out the staff late at night by opening and closing windows. Oh my gosh. So, I'm gonna link this to you guys, because you should take a look at Salmagundi West. Which maybe the picture might be sort of what your shop looks like. This decades-old antique store is nestled in one of Gastown's oldest buildings, the J.W. Horn Building at 321 West Cordova, and has a similarly long history of unexplained occurrences.
Hell yeah.
One of the city's most enduring ghost tales is that of a mysterious female hitchhiker who haunts West 16th Avenue out towards UBC. The long stretch of road through Pacific Spirit Regional Park can seem remote. It's dark at night and surrounded by forest. Coming across a lonely young woman hitchhiking on the side of the road might seem odd. It will seem even more odd when she climbs into the back of your car without saying a word, gives you a piece of paper with the UBC library address on it, and then promptly disappears into thin air. Legend has it many years ago the woman was left there on the side of the road by her boyfriend after they had a fight. Attempting to hitchhike, she was hit by a passing car and killed. Interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of ghost stories. So... the seawall. The old spaghetti factory.
Because if I'm a ghost, I definitely want to be haunting that.
Eating phantom spaghetti forever.
Nom 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 nom.
Or the 24 Water Street one too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's another one. Another antique. Waterfront Station, Hotel Vancouver, the Jack Chow building. I didn't realize that one had any.
The library one is probably just some like actual guy that everyone's just afraid to talk to.
Let me read. I didn't read that one. I sort of just skimmed. The most modern building on our list, the Vancouver Public Library Central Branch at Library Square, opened its doors in 1995. However, apparently 20 years is long enough to acquire a resident ghost. Rumor has it that a man with long grey hair can be found on the 4th floor, crouching down between the aisles, seemingly picking through a pile of books on the floor. If you happen upon him and ask him if he needs help, it's said that he'll lie down on top of the books, then both man and tomes will promptly melt into the floor. Creepy. So yeah, how you guys doing? How you doing, Howard? I see that you've got a whole bunch of things. Oh, I like that. I'm just gonna correct your spelling.
What? How dare?
It's okay, it's done.
Oh.
You won't even notice.
I did.
Okay, so how are you guys doing? Close friend, James the delivery guy, enemies. Nice.
I was thinking, the guy that always takes my parking spot, but then I probably don't drive.
The guy
I
who
live upstairs.
The guy who constantly parks in front of your shop, taking up one of your parking spots?
Yeah, because it's a no parking zone. How about anyone who parks in front of the store?
That works. That's my loading zone! Yeah, and also James the delivery guy would feed into that, because he would be annoyed anytime somebody was in that parking spot, guaranteed. Am I right, Renee?
Huh?
If Althea's enemies are anyone who parks in the loading zone outside of her shop.
Let's not fucking talk about those dickheads.
From Renee's time.
5 minutes, read the fucking sign.
As a former delivery guy for Moja Coffee. It's like...
Have until the tow truck shows up because I called them already.
Especially downtown, because you can't, like, park anywhere.
Yeah.
So those commercial loading zones are jealously guarded. Okay. I'm gonna get, yeah, so that's looking good. That's looking good. Oh, film school. Nice.
Do you know some vampires?
Probably. Might not know they are.
Hey, pal!
Um.
Oops, that's not how you spell that.
So I'm just reading the interview with the Salmagundi West thing. Another time, a brass kettle that was tied to the ceiling fell to the ground for absolutely no reason at all. The knot that tied it to the ceiling fixture was totally secure, but the handle of the kettle literally unscrewed itself. What happened to the kettle? We sold it. So does your stock come with a warning that it might be possessed? The kettle did. Oh dear.
Ugh, dirt floor basement. Ugh. That's like that house I used to rent in downtown Edmonton.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, creepy place. And like half of the basement was dirt.
Only half of it?
Yeah,
So they,
I don't
like,
know.
partially finished it and then
It was
stopped?
built in the 20s and it's really weird. It's like, you know when you go halfway up 105th Street, the one way that goes up the hill downtown?
Yep.
It was one of the little shitty houses that was on the right-hand side.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's demolished now, but
That's odd that only part of it, though.
yeah, it was a
Weird place.
that was a slum.
I know Renee grew up in a house that still had, like, one of, like, the furnace was converted from, like, an old, like, wood burning furnace. So that's his parents' place, is like that.
Wood burning was converted to oil burning and then finally converting to natural gas burning. So it was like a huge, like we're talking like the monster grated teeth thing on the front of it. Oh yeah, it was. Oh yeah.
Thing of
I hated the
nightmares for
I hated the basement.
children.
Because, you know, when it turned on, it made the deep, low, rumbling, gurgling noises, right? And it was a huge canister. It was a furnace, right? And so it echoed and growled, and oh yeah, it was great fun.
Okay, well, you guys figure out some backstory stuff. I will be right back with the bio break. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
What is that in reference to?
Howard, and his rising conflict.
Oh.
Yeah, double check with,
Double check with what?
with Renee, because I see you're writing him into your first adventure.
What? Who? What? What first adventure?
Evelyn.
Who's writing me in their first adventure?
I actually switched to Zoe.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I couldn't really think of something past.
Well,
she runs into this hipster-looking fuck who's talking to the air.
Well, the idea is, okay,
Whoa.
so when you're writing your story, think about something that happened to her, and then for the guest star, definitely talk to the other two about it, because
Zoe,
they'll
I'm going shopping at your store.
Okay. A customer.
A not scary monster customer.
and then basically decide how they either helped in the problem that was plaguing you that caused this adventure or this story, or made it more difficult or complicated the thing. Either one works, and decide it together is the best way. Because essentially they have to, in phase 4 and 5, they essentially have to write their part of the story that happens in your story, if that makes sense.
Yes. So Zoe, what I have right now is, after my unsettling encounter, I decided that I needed more information and sought out local purveyors of arcane knowledge. I found a book at a local shop, Disco Inferno, that contained information on the Fae. I'm thinking it's going to be missing some key information.
Like missing pages or something?
Or like not mentioning the thing about I feel like I could do something with cold iron here. Have a sudden realization. Yeah, I was initially thinking,
So,
like,
what's your
information on
so
the
you're
pack.
so you're looking for more information, right? Yeah.
Yes.
What's the conflict that happens? Because is it happening because you're looking for more information?
I'm thinking it happens as a result of bad information.
Okay.
Like it's a tongue-in-cheek book, but
Or like it's a book that's partially true, like written by someone who knows something but not everything.
okay.
Because, like, for example, you have no idea that I have powers, and you think, okay, so this human fuck is looking for more information. Let's give them something that it has enough truth to seem like it could be real, but also enough disinformation to lead them off track.
Okay. So you're saying that, okay, so you're looking for more information. Like, I'm just going to boil it down to its essence. You're looking for more information. You are helped by Althea, but
Sort of.
complicated because the information isn't complete or isn't accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that lead you into? What happens? So do you attempt to seek out another source of information that it has in the book, and you end up running afoul of one of the fae of the area, or of something else supernatural in the area? Because
I'm
you've crossed a
thinking
boundary you didn't know
running-
about?
I'm thinking running afoul of the fae in like a really minor way. Like, think about minorly offending Toot Toot and the things that could go wrong there.
Yeah. So
Character.
I figured.
So like you end up with consistently sour milk or something, or
until they lost interest. If it's one of the one of the little folk, they have short memories.
yeah, or like until you learn how to like repair the relationship. So
Yeah.
like just having this consistent run of really, really bad luck.
So yeah, you can offend them in multiple ways, including offering uneven deals. Or attempting to summon them and not knowing what you're doing and not having a gift or something to exchange.
That is 100% what I want to do.
Okay. So the book gave you some information on, for example, the name of one of the small folk. And you used it.
Yes.
But had nothing to give for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
So you, summoned a small folk. Okay. So, that's a good way, because then you will have made this acquaintance. And we'll decide in the next phase exactly how much Althea contributed, whether it was just the book or whether there was some more stuff.
Yeah, I mean there could be follow-up for like
exactly.
offending them.
So Zoe and Althea, so far, what have you got in your rising conflict?
I don't really know what to. I said my friend is James.
Yeah.
My enemies are people who bark in front of the store. The trouble aspect makes me overly cautious about meeting new people.
Okay, so I like that, and we can turn that into an aspect. I think for rising conflict, that makes that true. What if there are new relic hunters in town, or relic sellers or purveyors of such things, and you start doing business with them, and they double-cross you in some way? Or they end up stealing something from your shop, or something goes wrong in the business exchange with these new people.
That's what I put for my as first bit of my story.
Yeah.
And I put unknowingly brokered a deal where a fake relic was bought.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. And I imagine your reputation is fairly important within to maintain within the supernatural realm. Okay, I like that in the story, for sure. So that's for your first story, your first adventure?
Yes.
Okay, I like that. For your rising conflict and what shaped you, I'd say because you have had dealings with some shady people, etc., that works just fine. Your rising conflict is you keep on having to do these deals, etc. Your phase aspect could be something about being untrusting. Or taking a while to warm up to people, or... I'm trying to think of phrases to put that into. I'm looking up idioms. Well, none of those are what I'm going for. Once bitten, twice shy?
Yeah. That works perfectly.
Okay. I literally was just like, idioms about trust. That would be a good one for a werewolf, too. Or somebody who had an encounter with a vampire. I like it. Okay, heck, the problem person could have been a vampire.
Yeah.
Unknowingly brokered a deal where the fake relic was bought. Who bought it?
A loyal customer.
Okay, so, of the supernatural community?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a faction in mind?
Maybe a red vampire or something?
Okay. So one of the red vampires you've sold a fake relic to.
Oh shit.
Do they believe you that you didn't know?
Probably not.
They're suspicious of me. They're loyal customers.
Okay, so they haven't had this problem before, but...
They're long-term customers.
Okay, red
I'm the best in town, man.
fake
I mean,
I
relic.
think I am.
They wouldn't counteract easily because she's technically marked by Hades, so they'd be
Okay, so they're a little unsettled by it. They aren't outright hostile. But perhaps the problem you now have is they want you to make restitution or help them get to whoever produced the fake.
Yeah.
Which one? Or both?
They both. Because, I mean, the restitution is dealing with the person that screwed us.
Okay, restitution to prove, and essentially partially proving that you didn't know, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And prove sold in good faith. Okay. So, that's pretty good as the beginning of the story. That the sounds of the dog being fooded. Because I'm sure he was bothering Renee. Hey! It's late! Give me my dinner! Okay, no, that's great. That's perfect place to bring somebody else into your story. Now that we've set up where it's going. Is that the his nickname? Ward?
Yeah.
I like
It's either
it.
that or Howie, and I fucking hate Howie, so.
It's like Howie Mandel.
We're not calling me Howie, you are calling me Ward.
I like it. I like it. Okay. So how is your story? Is it going pretty good?
You know, it's alright. Lived
Do
a
we-
happy little childhood till my mother died in a mysterious fire, and then my father slowly went mad and then killed himself.
I see that they were a set builder turned producer in the film industry.
Oh, and a new age mother, right? New age hippie mother. There you go.
Okay.
Let's go. New age, hippie.
Just are you pulling from life there?
I don't know what you're fucking talking about. My dad isn't a film producer.
He was a film editor. And he does, like, a lot of stagehand work, so, you know.
My mother didn't die in a mysterious fire and my dad didn't go crazy, so what the hell?
True. But seeing as your father is a producer in the film industry and despair...
Not relevant.
Not relevant. I'm sure they had nothing to do with it.
Anyways, my father wasn't actually crazy. He was just busy defending me from the ghosts that he could perceive. Which eventually drove him mad, and then he took his own life. Or was
Driven.
the fire that killed my mother somehow also related with my father taking his own life?
Yeah.
Needless to say, after my parents were dead, the heirloom watch that he had bestowed upon me was stolen, and that's when I started seeing apparitions.
Nice. So that was the thing shielding you.
Yep. Turns out I had a knack for resolving spiritual issues and helping them find their rest. And so thus my wonderful practice began, and now the only thing that I really want to do is find out the apparition that killed my mother, or my father, or both, who knows, but at least my mother, and put that fucker to rest.
Excellent. And your phase aspect from that.
Oh, keep your friends close, and your enemies closer.
Okay. And I don't think Evelyn, I don't think we shared your rising conflict, did we? I read it, but I can't remember whether you actually said it out loud. You might have.
I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
and the phase aspect we got from that was Uncanny Valley, by the way. Step
that's why you said
removed
that.
from humanity. Uncanny Valley. Okay, so that means I think everyone has the beginnings of their story as well. So we already know Evelyn's and Althea's, but I don't think we've got yours. Howard?
What, my first adventure?
Your first adventure.
Oh, my first adventure is going to be a college tale. But like one of those mystery novels, right?
Mm-hmm.
When the ghost of I literally wrote it as when the ghost of a local sophomore who supposedly killed herself contacts Ward to bring the truth to light. We then follow Ward along to find out if he will succeed in bringing the fraternity dabbling in sacrifice to justice in a world that doesn't believe in such things as ghosts. That's a really bad sentence I have to rewrite, but
Don't worry about it.
also coming to terms with the fact that they actually do exist and he can 100% perceive and interact with them.
Okay.
And I without just writing down ideas.
No, that's perfect. So yeah, no, that's good. So, we already have one guest starring that is in Evelyn's story. So we have Althea tied into that story as the bookkeeper, or the store owner who sold the book. And Evelyn's phase aspect from that was blessing in disguise. How do you want to use that? So blessing in disguise is...
When bad things happen, they can lead to a good outcome. Like
Okay.
if something goes
Okay.
wrong, there's a way of spinning it.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I can see that being useful. Yeah. I just wasn't quite sure how to spin it. But yeah, no, that makes sense. And then Althea, you don't have a phase aspect for your story yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what we want to take out of there, but is there something you want to have your character be about? It doesn't have to be read directly from the story. It can just be something that character sort of leaned into during that story.
Reputation? Restoration?
Okay. Reputation is a good one.
Oh, there's this Fallout thing where it's like, ain't like that anymore. Where, you wore a black hat, you got your white hat back on, so people are more likely to give you the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know if it quite fit. I don't know. I mean, Zoe, you're a character, so you decide. But I was thinking from
Fallout?
Yeah, it's from one of the later games. But it's a character perk.
Well, like, isn't that like you change your ways or something?
I stake my reputation on something. I'd stake my reputation on it.
Tasty reputation steak.
I live up to my reputation. Or I live by my reputation.
Yeah, my reputation is my living.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it is.
Yeah.
Tasty reputation steak, right? Literally feeds you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And who wants to be the first one to be involved in this story? Either as a complicating aspect or as a helping aspect. So, she unknowingly brokered a deal with where fake relic was bought by red vampires who now want her help to find restitution, deal with the person who screwed them, and prove that she was selling it in good faith.
As a bureaucrat, I might have access to records. Import-export kind of deal.
Ah. I was gonna say, like, one of yours, like, saw me, like, beating the crap out of somebody, but that's less violent.
That could be good. I mean, it can be after Evelyn had come to your shop and got that book. So you may have already struck up a rapport.
It's true.
Yeah.
That bookstore is definitely going to be the tie-in for both Adrian and his character.
Well, I mean, you all you're essentially both going to be in the. So stage 5 is how did the other person come into the story?
Yeah.
So for phase 4, Evelyn.
Yes.
You will want to write your part in Althea's story.
Okay.
And Althea, your guest star is going to be Evelyn.
Which one?
And Althea's phase 4 is going to be her part in Evelyn's story.
So Evelyn's first adventure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the guest star of your first adventure is the person is your phase 4.
Yeah. Same thing for phase 5. It's just the other person. Because there's only 3 of you, you're all going to be tied into all the stories, if that makes sense. Sorry. So you're going to be the guest star. You're going to be the secondary star of everyone else's as well.
Great. I'm the guy that they paid to say that, yeah, that dead person said this. Let me point out that I'm the guy they paid to lie, saying that dead person said this.
So Althea, when you helped in Evelyn's story, she came in. She was looking for information. You sold her a book about that had information about the Fae. It wasn't entirely accurate, but books like that often aren't, or it wasn't complete information. And she managed to summon a minor Fae, but insulted it, and has had a string of bad luck that she needed to correct. Did you stop in that story? Were you simply there to provide the book, or did you also help with the string of bad luck?
Oh, I just gave her the book because I was like, normie, get out. Because I'm basically like the guy in Black Book. I'm like, customers.
Nice.
I fucking love it.
The misanthropic book owner. He's
Are you
such
always
a...
drunk? Please tell me you're always drunk.
Mostly drunk.
Okay, that's great. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Not gonna lie. Yeah, so that's good. So yeah, you basically sold a normie human a book to throw her off the trail of supernaturals. Just wanted her out of the store. Ugh, customers is the title.
Nice. So my follow-up to that is, after stomping back into the shop, upset about the misinformation contained in the book, I don't know what your reaction is, but somehow I left my card with you and you ended up calling me with
So
a question about the important item of dubious provenance.
Okay.
So I don't know whether you would like actually give me good information or if you would just be like, ugh, customers again.
Oh no, because I'd be like, oh, you're not okay.
You're not just a normie.
Yeah. I'd be like, oh, okay, never mind. Like, I can help you. Let's help each other.
Okay. Yeah. So what I would say is the after stomping it back into the shop upset left her card with Althea. If she came into any more information, that would go in the story. So your story.
Okay.
I mean, you can keep it there if you want, but it's not really part of the second story. The second story is later Althea called her with a question about the import of an item of dubious provenance. If you know what I mean?
Yes. By violating her sacred bureaucratic oath.
Do you take an oath as a bureaucrat?
Actually, yes.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, we have to take, like an oath related to privacy and only using information sort of as you're supposed to.
I had to do that at
Gotcha.
Stats Canada.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, in other industries, you just sign contracts that include confidentiality clauses, but
No, you actually have to put your hand on a book and swear.
What book did you choose? What book did you choose? Can you choose a book?
Just a dictionary.
Because honestly, Terry Pratchett, The Truth,
That would be awesome.
would be the book I would choose if I was allowed.
That would be fantastic.
Anyway.
Except I can't violate oaths as a fae, can I? Or as a changeling?
You, let me read the exact wording.
by skirting around the bounds of her bureaucratic oath.
Yeah, the Fae can't. The Fae, like full Fae at the very least, cannot lie. But that they ascribe to a certain definition of lying, which is, outright telling a fib, as opposed to omitting key information or things like that. City creation, I want character creation, and I specifically want the types and templates. There we go. Changeling. Musts. Some of the baggage of the Fae. Vulnerability to cold iron. Supernaturally binding gift exchanges, and other such pacts. So yes, if you have sworn an oath...
I cannot violate it.
Yeah, if you violate it, I'm gonna say you have free will, because you're not full Fae. But if you violate it, you will have consequences for doing so. In the same way that when Harry Dresden makes a sort of magical oath, he has consequences for breaking them or not fulfilling them.
Let's go the skirting around.
Okay. That seems fair. Okay. Yes. And then what aspect do you want to take out of that? If you don't have ideas, I have a couple directions.
Please help.
Okay, so for what you did there, you could either take it in the direction of being skilled in, essentially, one of the things I was thinking is you're skilled in skirting around the oaths, etc., and pacts and that sort of thing. So you're good at finding loopholes, or you can go with the sort of connected to information side of it.
I like connected to information because I already have rules lawyering.
That's true. That is true. So it is more useful to go further from that. So now it's just finding some sort of aspect that can be tagged both negatively and positively. Lost in the infosphere.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a better way of saying that, but
the internet is tubes. I don't know. I can.
Access to certain types of information, or trusted with certain information.
How's that a downside? Like, the way I'm thinking of it right now
Yeah,
is like,
please.
I have access to information, but sometimes I focus on the wrong things, or I have access to information that is less than complete.
Okay. I don't know if that comes across in Lost in the Infosphere.
No, it doesn't.
So what about access to information.
Like access to partial information.
Yeah, it's
seeing only part of the picture.
Seeing only part of the picture is not a bad one for her. Although, how are we going to take it positively? I mean, you get some information out of it.
Yeah.
Probably. Or even leave out only seeing part of the picture. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think it can work.
I think that could work. And again, we can modify these things as we play. But I like that one. I think it works, especially because you're still fairly new about the thing.
Yeah.
So Mr. Howard.
What's up?
So we
Also,
heard.
Can I point out the time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of that time, isn't it?
It is that time.
Do you want to really quickly do your phase 4 and then we leave it at that?
I haven't even thought about my phase 4. I don't even know what my phase 4 is gonna be.
It's you guest starring in one of the other two's stories. So you can either end up involved in the unknowingly brokered a deal where the fake relic was bought. Red vampires want restitution to find and deal with the person who screwed us. Evelyn contributed by providing information about records of the item, import, etc. Or Evelyn's story, where after her unsettling encounter, she's looking for more information, summons the Fae, a minor Fae, insults it, a string of bad luck, until she can correct the situation. And you can either complicate the situation or help.
I don't know how to do either of those.
Or be part of my bad luck, like...
Yeah. Or in... I mean, Althea is... a purveyor of the supernatural as well. You could have come into her shop while she's dealing with the red vampires. Like... That's a thing.
At some point in time, I definitely would have gone into the shop. You know, discovering the whole supernatural thing, one bit at a time, would eventually lead me to, you know, a dealer in fine antiquities and magical things.
Yep.
As would potentially being dragged into the whole bad luck thing. Because who knows, maybe there are ghosts that are harassing you in this bad luck thing as well. And I would definitely, as someone who is, you know, ghost hunter, would definitely follow up, you know, that girl that has 5 ghosts following her around, knocking shit over for no fucking reason.
Yes, I like it. I was thinking the poltergeist. I like that.
Excuse me, has anything weird been fucking happening to you lately? Just like out of curiosity.
So do you want to have come in maybe, like, so I don't know whether you've encountered her before the vampire problem, and then came in again right when that was happening, and witnessed something maybe you weren't supposed to?
What vampire problem? Because technically I have to find a hook in both of the stories, right? So it's not which one, right?
Yeah.
Because there's...
Her first story, is unknowingly brokered a deal where a fake relic was bought by red vampires.
I'm just gonna type these out in...
I mean, I could probably also just make it so that you guys can look at each other's character sheets.
I'm fine with that. Like, there's nothing. I have no secrets from you guys.
No, I think mostly as players, you don't have too many secrets from each other, even if you have secrets as characters.
I just put ASCII butts in my text boxes.
Nice. It's very mature. I love it.
Okay, you can see that sheet, because that way you guys can read them. At the table, they recommend using note cards so that you can just pass them to each other while you're doing this phase. And then yeah, so I think we'll really quickly, unless you guys want to think about it, And we'll do the final phase probably. You should be able to see everyone's sheet now. I think I got them all. We can do the really quick wrap up of the 5th phase and go straight into our first adventure probably. Because I think I've got enough locations, etc. to start with, and I'll probably float a couple ideas to you guys as I do my plotting out for our first adventure next week. And I definitely have, I think, enough of a feel for what your characters can do and what they are at this point that I can start to design some stuff for you.
Cool.
But do you have any ideas right now, Renee, or do you want to call it a night?
I would have to think about it. My head was still wrapped in my backstory.
Okay. Then why don't we call it for the night? And we'll pick this up again 5:30 PST ish. We always seem to be a little bit closer to 6-ish, but you know, we can try. And we'll do our final phase character creation, which is literally just going to be tying a couple more people into the main stories. So I don't think that one will take too long, especially if we've had a week to think about it. And we'll start off our first adventure.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be lit.
Yay!
I'm gonna make a voice. I'm gonna use the voice so you'll know when I'm talking in character and out of character. So be prepared.
I am already prepared. I am excited to hear this voice. I know you are pretty good at the voices, so
be prepared.
See,
Watch, the voice is gonna be this. This is my normal voice.
Yep.
Okay, I'm passing out.
Okay.
I will talk to you
Yes.
guys
Sleep
later.
well.
Bye
Talk to you
bye.
soon. Bye.
I'm gonna go make another sandwich.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
go
make some
eat because we have not eaten yet at all. Okay, I haven't.
Okay, bye. See ya.
Okay,
Bye.
bye. Okay, well, thank you for the 3 people who seem to be listening in. We're calling it for the night. If you want to join us, we're going to be trying to do this every Sunday evening starting at 5:30 Pacific Standard Time. And we'll be actually starting our first adventure next week. Tonight was character and city creation redux. We started one that was not streamed to do the city creation last week. So yeah, we'll actually get into some action, and that's about it. So yeah, have a good night and a good week if you want to join us.